Hey guys, we're back with KimJon podcast Ep.2. Once again, we're always going to preface this with this is mostly opinion unless we go online or something and we name a source for fact. And I don't know if that's going to happen too often, but I guess if it's really intriguing, we can always go there. I think today we're going to start off with just kind of the state of DJing and the music industry, like post COVID and a little bit pre COVID, because I think pre COVID, um, I think it was doing really well. Just in general, I think a lot of people were going out, a lot of people were enjoying themselves, and I think a lot of people were making some money, whether that be like a side hustle or a full time job. And I think that just got ripped away with COVID, and I'm interested to see just how everything like ends up recovering. So
Yeah. Yep. As always.
I don't got much info on like the music industry. That's all on Sean and John, TBH.
Well,
To
you
be
can put
straight up about
your
it, I know nothing about it. So
opinion on about if you like going out or not.
I mean,
Or if you miss
Jack
going
doesn't.
out
I
with
don't think Jack really
COVID
goes
stuff.
out, so I don't
nah,
really
I just
think
don't
it's
like
very involved.
I'm not very much of a concert person. Much rather just vibe at home. I don't really like the loud noises and like kind of be sandwich until like a
Would you
sardine
rather
can
like
kind of
watch
deal.
your favorite artist live stream then?
I would. I mean, maybe something to consider.
Like, what would
Yeah.
you, Jack? Would you actively go out and like try to discover a musical artist, or would it just be one of those things where it's just like kind of like, okay,
I mean, it's not something I'm like mega like into, so I don't really actively go pursue it. It's just
is there any artist you like really like though? Is there like anyone you really like?
not really. There's not anything like I said. I'm not too into the scene of music. I just listen to music. That's it. I don't really have no insane preference or anything like that.
What about you,
Yeah,
Jono?
I
Like
feel like
you have
K-pop.
artists that you like a lot more right, than others.
Oh, yeah, well. I mean, I think being an artist is a different side to look at it than liking artists because at the end of the day, they can be just people or like groups forming bands, but they can also be like a kind of a corporate placement almost.
I don't
Like
know,
a
because it's like I feel like only the
uh,
really only
yeah, pre-band.
I feel like only the really well established people actually like get the traction to the stream or they're like online concert. I just feel like small artists. I feel like not too many people are actively discovering the small artists, unless they
Um,
just see them like randomly at a ball or something. I feel like that's like really the discovery
I mean,
factor,
it's
like for
tough,
small artists.
especially if you're trying to like filter through so many of them, though. You know, everyone knows like the meme and joke, like he's a SoundCloud rapper, blah blah blah. Like, there's a lot to filter through, so it's tough getting like noticed by people, I guess.
Like
Yeah,
I know you have like a nice home studio, right, Jono?
yeah.
So like, what do you do? Like, how do you keep it fresh? How do you like build a viewership? What do you do?
Well, I basically have like 10 followers, and it's basically my friends and family that follow me on Spotify. But you can get a lot of like placements and stuff with like Spotify, especially with like playlisting. And SoundCloud is kind of like one of those things where like you won't really get paid money, but the exposure you can get from SoundCloud is a lot better most of the time.
Right, but is that even beneficial though? Like post COVID though, right? Because it's not like you can just go out and take that exposure and show it to a venue or something and go and play.
Yeah, that's kind of where like Spotify is kind of become better with like playlists being a thing because even just people with Instagram followers that have like an aesthetic, they can have like their playlist and artists can message them and like pay them money to get like onto these playlists. So it actually really helps the song in the first week to do that.
Yeah. Hey, Jonna, do you think you could give us a little background and stuff so we can, you know,
Oh,
understand that you're that you're not just like some nobody. Like you actually like have a lot of dedication and money in this, and like your friends,
I don't
your
think
friends
it's
with
really
your friends, you're
money or
friends with some
anything.
famous
Like,
people. You know, like
I've been,
Loki.
I've been producing for 5, 6 years now. Um, yeah, I think that kind of says a lot. If you can stick with something for long enough, you kind of just it becomes a part of you.
Yeah. Like, is it? Do you
Or
think?
like you meet people,
Do you think it's like easier for you
meet
to
bigger
walk?
artists, and then they're just kind of normal people, you know.
Right. No, I agree with that. Like, I'm more on the DJing side of things. Just to clarify, I don't really do that much production. When I was doing like stuff like, I was just working with Jono and kind of helping him with the marketing side of things. But I don't really do that
Funny
much.
story. That's actually how we kind of became like real good friends.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that comes along too. It just like, a little bit of interest goes a long way, I think.
Yeah, but yeah. So 5 or so years ago, when I was getting into production, I kind of already felt like the market was very saturated with the IE SoundCloud rapper type of producers. But I mean, at the end of the day, like making the barrier to entry for producing is almost like making these gaming computers very accessible to everyone. Just making things, computers in general, like much more affordable.
Yeah, I think a good comparison, to the arts just in general, just like there's a million like painters, a million whatever in the creative field. I think it's almost just like you could even compare it to like a small business, right? There's tons of them that open every day, and tons of them that just as many, if not more, that close every day.
Yeah, and so most of like getting your Spotify page or just like your artist page in general to pop off is like the marketing side and even just like the artwork direction and just the vibe and aesthetic that you're trying to wrap up in that package and present to people. Because at the end of the day, if that's the only thing that kind of matches with them is that like their aesthetic, they're going to still listen to music, if
Right.
even if it's bad music or i.e. SoundCloud rapper type of mumble rap, like whatever music is music, man.
Is there anything that you would say like if someone was coming in trying to become a producer or something and actually wanted to dedicate the time and not just like bullshit around and like walk on the fucking ball hoping they can pick up a goal saying I'm a fucking DJ or something? Is there anything like is there like a bare minimum you think that, like required? Like because I think a lot of people are using things like Logic or something that they get free on their MacBook or whatever. But do you think there's like
Right.
there's a bar that you have to be at, to like really provide a quality?
Well, yeah, I think that used to be kind of a bigger thing with the loudness war of like actual physical copy releases of like CDs, for example. It wasn't really a big thing actually historically when vinyls were big because those types of studios were kind of like the barrier of entry. And now with these people getting the Logic on their computer and laptops, studios and portable studios really popular. I think that really makes music a more accessible thing, like I'm saying, and it makes the art more avant-garde and like it just makes a more uniqueness to everything. And so I think that's where people can really shine too, is just kind of presenting themselves.
Right. Do you think there's anything like? Do you think that the large
But
majority?
really, I think the best thing to get into it, like you're saying, is probably just find like a community in the general genre of music you would like to make, and like even like listening to music you generally wouldn't think you'd like, or like if you don't like pop music or you only listen to rap music or EDM music,
Like,
listen to the more popular stuff, and you might like actually take notes and pick up on things like that carry over to all genres of music.
I have a question. I know I feel this question because I was in the music industry for quite a few years, and that's how I paid my bills. Before I got into what I was doing now.
Yeah.
Ironically, with you, that's why we're such good friends. But like, how many people do you think, like percentage-wise, of artists are like truly authentic to themselves, or how many of them would you like consider the quote-unquote like Cardi B kind of mindset, where it's like, I'm in this to pay my bills, and it's just like the way I do it.
Well, I mean, I honestly, That's kind of a hard thing to say because of
Well, just like from your opinion, like if how you feel about it. It
my
doesn't have to be
opinion. I
like
think
100% accurate because there
the
can't be
more
inaccurateness in
the
that.
more flashier the artist, I think that can kind of work for them. And I like certain artists that are flashy. Like Post Malone has a good aesthetic, and it's kind of like a rock and roll, more grunge type of rapper. But then his like his visual aesthetic more, and then his music sounds a lot more like Pretty Boy. So that kind of like ties up his like look as like the pretty boy bad guy kind of thing. Same thing with like a Billie Eilish type of thing. Is like the looks might be deceiving compared to the music.
No,
And
I actually feel like those two are like pretty good, like authentic examples. Like I feel like those two artists are actually like fairly authentic to themselves.
and I think yeah, they're very authentic to themselves, but they have the whole team to like carry the releases and like the artwork direction and like that stuff isn't just ran by them. Maybe just the music side of things
Right,
is. Even
like
these people like that have ghostwriters like Drake is like they still have like themselves, I guess.
right, and that's not really what the question was. I was just curious, like of all the artists, not just the big ones, because I feel like a lot of the big ones, right, are fairly authentic, minus a few. But I was just curious, like how many people, like, because I mean, you meet like a dime a dozen, DJs or musicians or whatever you want to say. Like, how many of them do you think are like truly authentic to like their cause and their music, and how many of them do you think are just there, for that like coolness factor, like I'm trying to pick up the ball, kind of thing?
I don't know. 'Cause I think I meet people who are maybe less confident producers, knowledge-wise, but are like really good musicians. Like most of like the really really good musicians I know are way better musicians than me per se, but they just haven't dedicated their time to learning the program to learn how to produce and like record those ideas. So I think it's kind of hard to say because like everybody's unique and like wants to learn a kind of a different thing. And that's what I'm kind of like getting at is like teamwork makes the dream work in the music scene is like it's not all ran by one person even if it's a one man show.
Right. No, I get that. I was just kind of looking for like just like off the top of your head, how many people do you think are like truly in it to be musicians, and how many people are just in it, for like the look or the scene or whatever? Because I feel like, in my experience, right, I think a lot of people are in it for the side hustle, the extra cash, or they're not really in it for like the same reasons like that you're in it. Because like I know you're in it just because you love to do it, and I think that's really what's kept you around so long. Because I mean, if you want to look at it in like the age of your life, like you've been doing it for like a quarter of your whole lifespan, right? And from knowing you personally, I know that you put probably like a larger majority of that of your whole life's free time, into like honing
Yeah.
your craft and making sure that you have like the best sound. But
Yeah.
I feel like that's not really how the scene really is, because I like I said, I did it for a long time, and I think I'd meet
Right.
at least 4 or 5 people a night, that said they were this or said they were that, but like I don't think a single one of them was really like anything about what they said. They were just doing it for the crowd, I guess. They're just like chasing the crowd, or like they're just chasing like trying to fool
Yeah.
somebody basically, or like they'd go to the bar and they'd see a DJ and they'd be like, wow, like I can do that, like, and I can get, and like then they like hear how much they get paid and they're like, that sounds easy, I can do that, right? Well, that's like it's really not that's not very like authentic to the cause, so.
I don't know. I think that's kind of like the what would you say? What good word would be like kind of lucrativeness to the music scene is like it is kind of that low bar to entry. Anybody can do it these days, and even just like being a performer is just having that energy and
I think what's interesting though about that is I feel like the music industry isn't really like that. I think it's only DJing that can be actually like instantly lucrative, because there's a million things you can branch DJing off to. But I feel like if you're like a traditional musician, right, like a guitar player or a pianist or something, like the options are way less involved and it's not nearly as lucrative.
I mean, you see like street performers, they can rake in some money though if they go into the right spot.
Right. That's true too. I mean, I think the right places though, like just from what I've seen, is just like the cost of living there ain't cheap either. So it seems like it's always kind of a
Yeah. That's like I think that stuff's definitely kind of probably less feasible now with COVID, but back when like Pearl Street was popping all the time, like there'd be people there all the time with playing guitars, and it's like I think now that they're DJing is like this new main performative like baseline level of production, you know?
Right.
I don't think that like really makes like playing a piano less important. Like
No.
there's still gonna be
No, not at
jazz
all.
clubs and like I think like it all matches the vibe. Like there's always gonna be places like that, as well as like there's the Lucky Joe's to the Bondi.
Yeah, dropping the Fort Collins bang bang, I guess, right? But
Specific bar scenes for people like it's always gonna be metal bars and biker bars.
right, and I think the thing about DJing is it's just like I feel like it's just more accessible too. Like for a wedding and stuff, it's not too outrageous to pay someone $100 an hour to be a DJ. Whereas like if you're like doing a wedding and you're trying to hire an entire like private band to play your playlist, right? Like it's just gonna be like a lot more expensive too. And I think that's kind of where like the lucrativeness of DJing comes from, honestly. But
Yeah.
also, I think it's just like what you said. It's so accessible to be a DJ now too. Like, like back in the day, like the equipment just wasn't, nearly as accessible or as cheap as it is nowadays either. Like nowadays, I mean, I could be a fucking great bedroom DJ for $80.
I think that's definitely the proving ground. It used to be people that really like saved all their money to buy their setup
Right.
and hardware and all that stuff. But I mean, even nowadays, it's still like pretty expensive to get into production. Like buying the full-fledged programs and the plugins and equipment as well. Is like it all adds up. But I think having that studio be like portable and like you're not tied to just practicing guitar to go record into the studio
Right.
and have to pay hourly just to be able to utilize like an actual studio.
Yeah. Do you have any like tips or tricks for people that might be like trying to get into it or?
Well, definitely like start by reverse engineering like your favorite songs or genres, and try and see what like makes those things click, and then also like just building your like sample library is really important.
Right. And I actually think what's really interesting is like a big question for people that are starting out with DJing or something or producing or whatever you want to say is they always ask like how do you combat writer's block? And I think a lot of people just give that just fucking get to work kind of like answer. But I feel like that's not the answer people are really looking for. I feel like people are really looking for like, an actual answer. And I think that what would you say about that? Because I feel like, when you sit in those like ironically when you're sitting in that one class and someone asked that question, like they kind of got the fucking like sucker, like if you don't have the motivation, you don't have the motivation, sucks to suck. But I feel like there's got to be like an actual answer, right, to like help people that like have writer's block.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, I think like explaining like how that question like went down. He was basically like, "Yo, if I get writer's block and I just don't feel like working in the studio, I open the DAW to a blank slate." He said, "How do you get past the just like getting over that first hard entry, you know?"
Mm-hmm.
And what my friend said to that was, said, "Oh, it's just like open a bunch of audio tracks and then you have a bunch of friends." Is basically what he said, and that kind of like ties it all up in a knot because like if you're opening a blank slate, then it kind of like could be that like option paralysis. You have every single option in front of you. But if you just start doing like one step at a time, like make those small goals, then the next time you open the DAW, you might have like a completely different idea, and like that, you won't have that problem like twice, hopefully at least. And then at the same time, he was basically trying to like explain like how to set up your what is it called? It's just like an open template. When you open the DAW, it, like already loads like your drums group, your bass group, your synth group, your side chains, your whatever samples you want it to load, and VSTs and stuff. Like you can like set it up to be customized completely.
Yeah.
And so I think like people like try to like learn and learn and learn, and they get to the plateau where they're like, oh shit, I know all this stuff now and I have all these options and things I can do, but I don't feel like I can apply it. But if you just like get stuck in the headlights and you don't do anything, then that's probably worse than just like feeling like you're bad at it for a while.
Right. Is there any like resources you would recommend, or any like concepts or anything that you'd recommend for people that are stuck in that mindset? Though, is like there any like resource you could go to, or do you think the best thing to do is just take a break, like go do something else for a while and just come back to it, or what do you think that kind of situation would be like right now?
So I think it depends on like how much energy you have, like your energy levels. If you're like the type of person that likes to take breaks, then by all means. Like I produce probably every other day, or maybe like even once a week sometimes if I'm feeling that way. Other times I'll get in the zone and like have a few days where I will bust out a bunch of work, and then I'll like kind of have to recycle it down the line. But I think some of the best tips and tricks is YouTube tutorials for like genres as like a very first step, and then once you start finding people in those genres making music, like Mr. Bill example for EDM music, or I guess like Kenny Beats for rap music. Like those are two like pretty big examples of big people in the industries. Um, then you can kind of go and find a community based on those things. Like Discords are very useful, but they can also be like that kind of option paralysis type situation too, where there's so many people in here like spamming at the wall that you don't feel like you can uh, find or like ask your questions. So at that point, if you're like trying to ask stupid questions in a Discord that's being spammed, like just go and read like the manual for whatever software you're using, or like the Ableton manual or Logic, whatever DAW. Like manuals are like one of the most useful tools because it's like things that aren't going to get updated because they're like static software things.
Right.
And once you kind of like learn the like ins and outs of like one software, like a lot of things translate over, like envelope, modulators, all that types of things, filtering, effects, like all that stuff's kind of like in every single DAW and like VST. You just have to figure out like how to utilize it and in what order, and that's where like your sound is going to come from. So honestly, just trying a lot of different things. Try things that you wouldn't think would necessarily work, and you might like have an aha moment, like a happy accident Bob Ross moment. But yeah, YouTube's like one of the best things. I think anywhere where you can find free sources of things, because like if you're subscribing to someone's monthly thing and you have a bad month, then you feel like you're wasting money, and then like that's kind of like a downward spiral. But if you're like always finding free information, like I follow Ableton Live Tips hashtag on Instagram, and I'll get like little 30-second to 1 minute clips of like a Ableton tip on how to make like a certain bass line or a synth effect, reverb like throw or something like that. And that's just like my downtime while I'm at work, is I'll just like see that, and I'll have like little ideas that kind of come to me with throughout the day that I can go and try out in the DAW later on after like when I do. So that's like utilizing my time like twice as well.
Yeah. See, that's some good insight, I think.
And I think like starting out, like don't just like create like random like question mark ASDF like titling your projects and shit. I think being really organized is from the get go is gonna like really speed up the process when you start learning how to write more full length songs instead of like doing sketch ideas or loops, getting stuck in loops.
Right.
Coming back to a project that's like marked like 130 BPM dash E flat minor dash, and then whatever like your title is. And then like maybe you have like a whole phase where you write a whole bunch of stuff in that same key signature, but they're all just like 16 bar loops. Then at that point you have like four different songs that are in the same key, and they could be like all melded together into one song that has a whole bunch of cool like almost like artistic changes into it, but they all kind of like go together because like you wrote the songs all during kind of a similar stage, but instead of letting those like loops go to die or like even like gutting them for just the sounds, which may or may not be used, like throwing like a semi-organized song into an even more organized like structure is going to like help you finish tracks even like at a really early stage.
Right. And do you think the process has really changed, with like COVID? Do you think it's changed because people might have more time now to like work on it, or like digital releasing is like more important? Or do you think it's still kind of just like if you're about it, you're about it, and if you're not, you're not? Or like, or do you think like COVID has maybe weeded out some of the fakes or like anything like that?
Well, I don't know. I think the fakes versus the real ones, that doesn't really matter. I think the more money you spend or less, like it doesn't really matter. Well, at the end of the day, everyone's just kind of like trying to like get their thoughts out there, and maybe if somebody else like vibes with that idea, then that's like the traction they're kind of after. But at the same time, people try and like get out the hood with their music, but it doesn't have that like motivation behind it. So it's just kind of like a half-assed rap or like production even. Like you see the really bad producers like don't really like try and push themselves to get better like one album after the next, or even because most of the time now like albums aren't profitable and they take like much too long of a time to produce and then release and market for just artists that are starting out. So people are doing EPs and singles more, and I kind of noticed just like a lack of like coherence between those releases. So like I feel like giving people more time to like just like smooth those releases out is probably gonna make the good artists shine and stick around.
Gotcha.
I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think my opinion honestly kind of goes to like I think COVID really did weed out like a lot of people. Like I think I've seen like
You really see who's like a good artist.
right. I think
Who's
because I mean
doing
I just see like a lot of like artists that like I used to know that were like quote unquote DJs or whatever, and like all those shits up for sale like, and they're like I mean they might return if the money's good again, but like they're probably not coming back to DJing. Like they're done. And then I
Yeah.
think I see people that like actually own businesses and stuff just like really struggling to survive, and I think that kind of plays a part too because there's going to be less small businesses that are really trying to like optimize off of like the whole music scene too, and I think that's going to like halt business, especially around the music scene. Um, but yeah, I feel like it's given certain people like the time they really need, and there's not like pressure on them anymore. So I feel like the people that are really dedicated definitely are kind of in it like an advantageous spot right here because it's like they probably got time off work, they probably, ended up being in a slightly better financial situation because I'm not gonna like just the starving artist complex or whatever. And I think they really have a lot of time to like really dedicate themselves, and they're not forced to go out or like being told that like oh you have to market yourself to like this club or like try to go get a gig to get exposure. Like they just get a lot of time to sit there and like really hone their craft. I don't know. That's in my opinion. I think COVID's been great for the real ones and awful for the fakes because the fakes are the ones that had all the money tied up in it. Like they're the ones that will.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
that's kind of the
wouldn't
skill.
necessarily call them fakes. Like even like those people were kind of hustling, maybe making money here and there, but like at the same time, I don't know. There were the people that were superposing, and then they just like realized it wasn't for them. But there still was like a lot of money in performing and like meeting people, making those connections. Like was pretty useful in like a local environment. But I think as long as you're not thinking globally with it and like making those releases like as clean and like able to reach everybody, like that's going to be more important in the long run is just like having 5 years of releases versus like, yo, I played all these shows in this town.
Right.
And now,
Do you think
now I
there's like
can't get out of
any
this
luck
town.
fact? Do you think it's like there's any luck factor like and so like the time span you play like it's just like playing like the lottery over and over again, like the more you play the more likely you are to win or any like thing like that or
But I think like I don't know, if you're gonna get stuck in your hometown, then like you're gonna get too comfortable and not try those like you're not gonna try those new things or like you're not gonna be struggling anymore. And then like you see like artists like do that all the time where they have like one hit and then they like get soft or whatever. But I think that's just sort of like a psychology thing almost. Like once you get comfortable in something, like you tend to not make any what's it?
like headway?
Just
Oh, I
like
don't
you
know.
try to make any not mistakes, but you to try anything to adventurous almost.
Yeah.
Once you get kind of like signed into a label, you get kind of into that cushy like position, then you're just like,
Been there, done that.
yeah, because then you can't try new things because your label won't pick it up. Or like it's too experimental, this or that. So you kind of get stuck in a corner. And I think that artists do that so much when they do finally make it that they kind of just feel like, well, shit. If I don't like keep up these releases, then I'm screwed. And if I don't do it in a timely manner, then like my hype's gonna dry up. So it is definitely like a weird thing. Like Bauer had a bunch of hits. Like he had his thing pop off in like 2012 with the Harlem Shake, and then he had like that one good album with the like motorcycle helmet.
And now I
And
see him playing like the most
now
ratchet
he's like,
ghetto shows
yeah,
like ever.
yeah, now he's like the type of person just to Twitch stream.
Yeah, living out the fucking legacy of like the two hit wonder.
Sure, he still has like it made.
Yeah, what is it? Kung Fu and Harlem Shake. Like those are the only two songs by him that are like really popping off.
Like Bang and like all the ones, but he never made any money on the Harlem Shake,
Right.
and that was just like a massive exposure for him. And then it seemed like he kind of had to just like throw something together, and then he had some sort of deal with Red Bull where he like traveled the world and made a sample pack way before like anyone was like way before anybody could make their own sample pack, kind of.
Yeah.
'Cause now there's this thing called Splice with these label creators that anybody can make sample packs now, and like
Sell
that's
them.
kind of a cool accessible thing too. Like a good tip to use Splice, because like you pay a monthly thing, but it saves up your credit month to month, so you can save up thousands of credits.
Like what do you
Um,
think? What do you think? Just the bail minimum entry is if you were trying to do this cost wise.
I think like maybe scrap as many things as you can, like Spotify subscriptions, like any kind of like YouTube or Hulu. Well, I would keep like Netflix and Hulu for that type of thing because that's not music related. But I would scrap any kind of subscription you're paying for music and switch the $10 a month you're paying for Spotify to paying for like Serum. And then you can get Ableton Lite, like the free version of Ableton, and make stuff with like Serum samples and like drum racks in Ableton.
Like what I was thinking is like just
That'd
from
be
my
the
experience with
minimum
the
barrier of entry,
with
because
the
then you
min-
could record audio, drums, and like synth bass.
yeah, no, let's say they don't have like a computer, like they don't have any like type of like quality audio. Like what do you think? Like headphones as like a bail minimum, and like
I
what
would
do you
say
think like
like
the bail
some
minimum
sort
for
of like
computer
music
is?
app, like GarageBand on your iPhone or something.
Yeah, you don't think you need a computer though? You don't think a desktop or
No,
laptop,
you can
anything like
definitely
that,
get that shit through with like an iPhone nowadays.
to be like And like, is there like what's the evolution to that? Like, is there? Because I feel like you'd probably cap out
I
pretty
feel
quick
like
on that, right?
I know everybody trashes Beats headphones for being like, I don't even remember, just like being Beats headphones, but like they're one of the best like headphones for like the consumer level audio.
It's so funny you say that because I'm wearing Beats right now that I used when I used to DJ. Just, and I mean,
Yeah, they're just like
honestly,
solid headphones.
I mean,
They
honestly, I
may
use
not
them.
sound as exact as like high fidelity as you want, but it has like a very solid low end and tightness. And when you're producing music, you kind of want to be in that like consumer spot and mindset almost. That's why people like test stuff on the iPhone and in their car speakers and on
Right. I mean,
the Apple Buds.
honestly, it's funny that you say Beats, right? Because it's like when I was DJing, I ended up going with like these Beats right here because I mean, I think I bought them used for like 40 or $50. And it's
Yeah,
like,
they're
and I
so
and I
accessible.
remember when I first started DJing, I thought I had to be cool, and I was wearing $700 headphones, you know. And after my first show, I think someone stole my headphone bag because they realized it was worth like $50 or $60. And so, like at that point, I just
It's so easy to
realized
lose
that,
too.
yeah, I just feel like it's just more worth it to just like use like a decent cheapy pair. Like there's nothing to gain by wearing
Yeah,
most expensive headphones, really. Like unless you're at home or something, and you're gonna use them for years and years and years.
yeah. I just bought a pair of like Audi's LCDXs,
Mm-hmm.
and they're planar magnetic headphones. They're about the size of like your palm. The magnets are, and they weigh like 5 pounds. So wearing those for like a long expended period of time sucks. But they sound so transparent and clear, like that. It's just like an on the on the next level of sound for production and mastering.
Mm-hmm.
But any nice pair of headphones is going to do you a lot better than getting into like speakers right away. So I think first step of entry is like going to be getting yourself like headphones and like a laptop with like a free software like Logic or Ableton, Fruity
GarageBand is Logic.
Loops, one of those three,
Yeah.
and then getting like some sort of subscription service, like I said, like try and save money where you can, but like there's monthly subscriptions to get stuff, or you can like just kind of pay the $150 flat fee
Yeah,
and
and I mean,
get the software.
I think if you're listening to this too, I think Jono's got a really good idea of this because I mean, he doesn't have some like incredible job, you know, that's paying him like 6 figures a year or whatever. Like he's done it incrementally over a long period of time, slowly but surely. And I think sometimes a lot of people lose sight of that. They think that they need to be dropping 10 or 20K, you know, to be the best right away. And like if you
Yeah,
do that, you're just gonna get super jaded because you're gonna feel like you're not good enough. You're like, why did I waste all of this time, like all of this time and money, and I'm just not very good. But like when you build up incrementally, you really can see the growth versus like having all the best shit right now and like just
yeah,
feeling like you plateau super hard. And I feel like I saw that a lot in the music industry too when I was doing my thing and I was playing a bunch of shows. I mean, and I would play shows by 3-4 times a week. But I feel like I met a lot of people that just bought the best of the best right away. Like when I first started, I mean, I had like pretty cheap shit, honestly, like some old, you know, used stuff. And
yeah. I mean,
it
it's
was,
good to get good deals and buy stuff used
but
where you can.
but I mean, I feel like so many people I knew like went out and bought, you know, spent $5,000-6,000 on maybe not the CDJs, but the XDJs or like something like, you know, of that upper echelon. And then, you know, next thing they know, they're jaded as fuck, or they or they just get like so arrogant. They're like, oh yeah, I spent all this money, so I'm obviously better than this guy or whatever. And to a certain extent,
Yeah.
I think that appearance and that extra confidence helps. But like in the
I
long run,
think
I
it
think it's
helps to
not
the
really helping
point
you.
too, yeah, but it's not going to make you any better unless you like dedicate yourself with that. And I think buying that sort of thing, me like yields itself to like renting it out as well. Like you can't be selfish with that type of gear. If it's that expensive, it's got to be like toured.
Right, and the other thing about it is I feel like when you just get into the music scene, like you don't have the avenues to just go to a venue and be like, yo, I have CDJs, like wanna rent them from me. Like that's generally done with like from people that are like well established, or like DJs that already have been working there for a long time.
Yeah, or even like having the jadedness of being like, yo, I have CDJs, you let me play. Like that might get you like some in, but like it's not gonna be like as worth it as just like being like, hey yo, what up? I know how to DJ. Can you teach me how to DJ? And then like that kind of connection is probably gonna be a lot better than being like an asshole about it.
Right, and I think the one thing for me too is it's like definitely an industry if you gotta spend money to make money. Like you gotta go sit in the ball and like be a nice guy and like just talk
Yeah,
to
if you like
people if
were
you
gonna
really want to
spend
like.
$5,000 at the like venue you wanted to play at, just being like a patron at the bar, that would go so much further.
Yeah, because I mean, there's got to be some camaraderie, right? Like, it's not like you can just walk in and be like, "Yo, I'm the best fucking DJ on the planet," unless you really are, and just like get a gig. Like, it doesn't really work like that. I feel like it's kind of like a. I feel like the whole industry is like you pat my back, I pat yours. Like I think when I was getting signed to a label, I was at like label events like 3 or 4 or 5 times beforehand, and I just kind of showed up and kind of did like a kind of like an open mic kind of thing, and they just like recognized that like, hey, this guy's like here all the time. He's being a patron to us. He's actually pretty good, so like we want to talk to him and we want to give him and his friends a chance. And I think my advice too when you get in the music industry is fucking don't make friends. Like you can have friends and you can work with people, but like don't tell anybody anything. Like I've just learned over the years that it is a dog eat dog world in the music industry. And if you tell people about opportunities and things like that that you have that they don't, they will use and abuse it to no end, and you will not have those opportunities, and they will.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they'll probably try and sneak under the table and like do it for cheaper, or like even try doing shit for free just to get like under your skin.
And that's just the way that I've just learned over and over again. And I mean, I'm not gonna throw anyone out there because there are some pretty great friends I made along the way, but
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that's like my advice to new artists is just because you're new, don't sell yourself short, or don't think some veteran is just always there to help you. They might say they are, but like, I mean, if you're a new artist and you're motivated and stuff, you have value that a lot of these older artists don't have. A lot of these older artists, they have one gig, and they're happy with it, and they kind of just wait for the cream of the crop to come up that's like motivated and talks a lot and goes out and finds opportunity, and that's where they get their opportunity. And they're well established, so it's a lot easier for them to not be like a patron or have to spend money to make money kind of thing. Like they can kind of go like, I've been playing at this ball for 3 or 4 years, and I can do it cheaper than that guy you were just talking to for you, and I have a lot better resume. Like I think that's kind of a pitfall too, is that like you start getting in the scene, and I think like Discord, like Jonna was saying, is like a better route because like those people aren't in your city. They don't know who you are. Like they're going to give you just whatever they feel like, whatever information they feel like they know. Whereas like people around you, when you're out locally and stuff, like you guys are all fighting for the same shit.
yeah, and like nobody's really trying to talk production shit at the bar. Like they're really just trying to like flex and like be like place their accolades. Like, yo, I've done played here, I've done this, or. But the people who are like really trying to write shit at a bar, I don't know what they're trying to prove.
Yeah, and I mean it's just like at that point it's like just get your laptop, go home. Like
Yeah,
you're not gonna be productive fucking drinking a ton of drinks in a loud environment with people bugging you.
there's
Like
already music going on. Yeah, like
yeah,
people
I
like
mean
yo.
like the only way it works out I feel like in that situation is
And
if
if you're
you.
trying to like show people your music like that by opening your project and shit, then like that's already like kind of far out there.
Hmm.
Like I get it, people want to talk production and stuff with that, which I thought was actually kind of pretty cool. Because like you don't usually see people like with their laptops out like actually showing each other stuff or like trying to learn a thing or two.
But
So I honestly like was kind of I thought these people would be better producers, but
mhm.
like not them not knowing like even the simplest little trick here and there. I was like, huh, that's kind of interesting. Like it kind of like surprises me how people don't know like the whole meta of like what they're doing before they like kind of go out and like flaunt it.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like I've always been kind of more perceptive to things at just like a micro level.
Yeah, and I think
Some
those
people
are
are just like, yeah, they see like the whole big picture, but they just don't know how they all put their final details to figure that out.
right. I think there's a lot of that just in general in the world though too. I feel like music, like the music scene and shit, is like so relatable to like so many other aspects of life outside of just
Yeah,
like
and that's why I think like nobody in the music scene's really like fake flexing, really, even if they are like that's kind of like the theatricalness of it, and it's kind of like a satire of real life.
I mean, would a better way of putting that be like the intentions behind like why they're doing it, like who has pure intentions versus who doesn't?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I think definitely.
Because I feel like maybe like the word fake is a little bit harsh or whatever, but I feel like there's a lot of people just in it for, because they like, I don't know, they see like a Post Malone video and they say like, oh dude, that guy's a ton of hoes, or like that guy has something I want, so I want to manifest myself in him. But I feel like those aren't people that last. That's not really authentic. Like I don't know. To me, like I don't know. The way I would just put it is sort of fake, and I feel like with how easy and accessible music has become, it really is more like that.
Skrillex pioneering dubstep, and then like every DJ after that, technically kind of being like a copycat DJ.
See, that's kind of hard to say. Like it's hard to say that some like it's like saying like in rock and roll like someone pioneered it, so everyone after them is like copying them. That's not really. I don't think that's really fair. I think that's really. I think that like it's
Yeah.
like I think that like there's intention behind it, right? Like you can look up to someone and say they're my idol, and have like good intentions behind what you're doing, and like really want to do it. Versus like seeing somebody and being like, I want that, I want the money, I want the attention. Like I don't know. I feel like there's like a lot of like misjudged intentions in the music scene, and
Yeah, and I think that's kind of like that was just kind of like a setup question because I kind of agree with like everybody having their unique output and input, like because like everyone perceives their reality differently, and therefore they're gonna like kind of perform that and show like their true intentions with that. And I think that really shows like skill wise with DJing, because like you can compare like DJs a lot better when there's like vibe connected with skill, I think, versus just like production. Because you could be like the shittiest producer ever, but you like write a banger song that's a hit because of the vibe of it and just it being like super interesting musically, but the production's just terrible.
right,
Versus like having like really amazing production, but like nothing sounds like it's a good song. It just kind of turns into like noise at that point. I think that's kind of like a big gap in like judgment versus like a good DJ is versus a bad DJ.
yeah. Do you think there's anything that kind of goes side by side in the music industry, or do you think it, or do you think there's any other industry that kind of like compares, or is like incredibly similar?
I don't know. I think art, like painting and like visual art, digital art, what else, like sculpting, like all those types of like mediums of art and like expressing things in a less literal way that can like sometimes have like those meanings just very like shown on their sleeves. Like
Right.
you can have like a song that's literally like called something like pop party like a rock star or whatever, and then that's like the vibe of the song. But then like at that point, them talking about it all is like kind of like comedy or like a movie or something like that, where it's like you can relive it and it's like making it what's the word, immortal almost. It's immortalizing those things into like ideas. And that's like a very cultural thing. So I think just like pop culture in general.
I gotcha.
But what do you think, like movies?
I don't know.
'Cause I don't know, like movies kind
I-
of like get around with music more. Couldn't really have a movie without the music.
Yeah, I feel like does just I feel like a lot of things just like go together with music. Like I feel like pretty much any medium of entertainment like has some form of music involved with it, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I think it's
music's very like rooted in like human beings' nature.
right, and that's just why I was kind of asking you, just because I think that some are more rooted than others, right? Like
Yeah.
like because like you could say like, oh yeah, like exotic pause, you know, or like part of the music scene, right? But it really isn't at all, right? Like it's just like a medium of like a certain type of artist, and then there's like, and then you could say like, oh, there wouldn't be a movie without a soundtrack, and I think those are like situationally more pale too, because I mean there's a lot of good movies that are just like acting and like
Yeah.
message. But like
Yeah.
at the same time, like, and just like you could say like, you know, before everyone was going crazy about like the copyrights on like streaming services too. Like I feel like a lot of streamers like kind of got traction because people like their playlist that they are playing when they're playing games. Like, oh yeah, it's kind of like the discovery was like not only in how well this person is playing video games, but like also like their music choice.
Like vibing with them, listening to like songs that you know too. Like I don't know. I think like that's the cool part about music and art. Like is that everyone you can look at like a painting, like a Picasso or like a Monet's a really good one because you can just look at it and like zone out and like you squint your eyes just right and you see what the painting is, and then like someone else could like get a completely different vibe based on like the colors they see and just like the experiences they've had. Maybe they see like a lake and they're happy. Maybe someone has a traumatic experience sees a lake and they're sad. And that's like
Right.
kind of the music is like there's like a way to like write a lyric and have it be kind of neutrally buoyant.
Right. And just like that too, like music has a lot of influence on like things like shoes and clothing and diamonds. Like I feel like you know like Balkan bags, right? Like before the Black Bear song came out, like I didn't hear a single person like talk about Balkan bags. Like after that song, like number one, like every girl I knew was like, oh, I wish I could buy a Balkan bag, right? Like or like the VVS diamonds. It's like, dude, like I think even when I first heard that in a rap song, like I had to look it up, be like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like I thought diamond, like I knew like diamond quality was a thing, but I had no idea that like VVS was like the clearest, and that's like why rappers were talking about it, because they're saying like, oh yeah, I don't buy no normal diamond, I buy these VVS diamonds. Like, and it's interesting how like they're like heavily it influences consumerism too. Like
Yeah.
if you think, and I'm sure like a lot of these artists are getting paid to say like certain things, like, oh yeah, dude, like I be only rocking the fucking that fucking high qual fucking ball ass life, baby. Like that's the way I roll. Like I don't know. It's just like interesting to me how like everything kind of.
Yeah, and that's kind of where like I feel like maybe some of these college kid rappers that we're talking about that are flaking and failing need to probably just like leave the nest and go to like a popping place like LA if they really want to make it like that. Because these rappers are getting paid by these people like that, and they're also making the rap song, and then they're just like going down the street to their neighbor's house who runs the Billboard Top 100 label playlist, and they're like, hey, like check out the new track, dropping it at midnight, put it at the top 10, and let's get the ball rolling. And then all the every single radio label, well, like Sirius XM channel is gonna pick up these songs. And that's kind of how it works, is just like knowing people, you know?
Right. No, I think it's a lot. Oh, there's so much more of that than people like want to put out there and say. Like, there's so much more of the like who I know involved now in the scene. Like, there's so much nepotism, and I mean, America's just like that. Like I feel like that's just like a strictly American mindset too. Like, if you know someone, like, you're just gonna be a lot more likely to be the person they first think about, like for jobs or anything. But I mean, sometimes it really, like, I feel like music in the same way is kind of like just like real life. Like, like, just because you're the best doesn't mean you're gonna be the right fit. Like, there's a lot of people that are incredibly good at what they do, but the teamwork makes the dream work. And like, there's a lot of people that are just selfish and arrogant. They might be the best, they might really be the best, and that's why they're selfish and arrogant. But like, they're still not as great as a team with cohesion.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of it too. And like, the thing about nepotism too is like, would you rather work with somebody you like know and you like have a well established relationship with, or someone you've never met before that like could turn out to be someone completely different than the person you talked to for a few seconds?
Right. Yeah, I mean, talk is cheap.
Oh, for sure.
I think it's hard to really capture it all in just like an hour. How long have we been going for?
I don't know. It's a good question. Probably like 40 minutes maybe. I don't know, 40 minutes. I think earlier we're just kind of rambling on. Like, I think we're kind of just going back and back to the points, just adding on to it. I mean, we could expand off if you want or something. Like, we can talk about, what else do you have on your mind right now, Jono? Because I know I kind of wanted, like, our last podcast, right, was like all about card games and stuff like that, which is like really me and Jack's expertise more. And it's kind of interesting because I've
just thinking about like the life of an artist, like when they drop merch, when they build all this equity in their name. They've got a lot of records selling nice. They've already made it, but they've got all this merch, right? Like Yeezys. When Kanye dies, like how that market's gonna go. 'Cause I was just thinking about all of the other shit going on with rappers' lives.
yeah,
They talk all the shit. They like hype up brands, but like, what about their own brand when they eventually pass? That shit really is volatile.
I mean, it's really interesting, right? Because it's like, I mean, like, if you want to like go on that way, like on DMC, like how they made the whole like white stripe Adidas, like the black and white Adidas, like now we call them the basic bitch shoe. Like, they made those things what they are today, right? Like, but like, I feel like no one really like remembers my Adidas, like, the song My Adidas. Like, they only they only remember the song My Adidas. They don't remember who made it. Like, they don't remember, oh, that's Run DMC. Like, unless you like really old school, like, I don't know. I just feel like that's not like a conversation really anymore. Like, I feel like the legacies just like die as fast as they come, man. Like, it's really hard, I think, to stay like culturally relevant and things like that. Like,
yeah, because I was just thinking about how people promote their merch releases now versus how they used to. It used to be kind of just like this obscure, like not really like popularized thing, and then everybody started doing it.
right.
Now, like every rapper has to have a shoe, and every like a fashion line, and all these things.
Right, and I mean, I think it's always been like that with music, right? But like, the thing is, like, rap now is just like finally big enough, to like really get that point where it's like every rapper's got to have a fucking shoe brand or whatever, Like, it's just finally like reached a point where that's like that's a thing, like, because I mean, like, before it was like rap was not like a relevant enough like genre. It was still like a subgenre of counterculture. It wasn't like the thing everybody listened to, right, for like a long time. But like now it is. So now it's like, and it's just interesting because it's like just like our parents' generation. Like, I'm pretty sure like every single rock star back then had like some crazy sponsorship deal that was doing rock and roll, and before that, I'm pretty sure it was like jazz musicians. I think musicians have always had an influence with like sponsors, but like every generation kind of picks, their next superstar genre.
True.
And like I think
Yeah.
that's why so many people invest in EDM right now. It's just like, you know, why people invest in things like Bitcoin. They feel like it's cutting edge and it's gonna be the next big thing. But I mean, just like anything, it's always a risk when you go in and you're saying like I'm gonna really master electric music, because this, I mean, there's no proof it'll ever be more than just like some sub counterculture too, because there's a lot of genres that have just fizzled out too
Yeah.
that didn't really amount to much. Because I mean, because like the thing about rap, which was interesting, is like back in the day when it was like R&B, right? Like that was the genre of like the '90s. But now I feel like it's more about like this hype, like, you know, like down south rap. Like it's more like the stuff that's popular now is kind of like, yeah, I'm so ballin', yeah, I'm like better than you, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm the
Yeah.
fucking shit, yeah. Like that's like what's hot now, right? Like, and before, like that was
Yeah.
kind of joke rap. Like I mean, Pitbull was like kind of like the guy for that, and that's like it. Like I don't know.
His stuff is kind of like a mixture of all those things, very fusiony. He had a lot of like kind of flavor in his music. I liked that kind of style of pop music. And then yeah, it kind of went like and split into like two different directions of like pop music that's very musical and then pop music that's very just like hard.
Right. Well, I don't know. I don't even know if that's like a good example. Like that's just the first person that came to mind. Like kind of like to me, like I just like turn on
Remember,
Sirius
like,
XM and he's got his own
Not
fucking
liking
station.
pop music when Pitbull was popular, like Kesha and like all these like pop music people. But now I listen to these things 10 years later and I'm like, this is actually like a lot better than
Then I
than I
remember.
remember.
and it actually is like a lot better of production in music, in my opinion, at least.
And the interesting thing about pop
Yeah.
music too, right? Is pop music just stands for
Yeah.
popular music. So like now, like pop music would be like fucking like Da Baby, you know? Like it's completely different than, you know, like what we think like, you know, pop music, because pop music has changed, right? Pop music changes all the time. Like
Yeah, it's
like it used
crazy
to be
for me
rock
to
and
think
roll
like,
or alternative or
'cause to me, like pop music would always be like when I was like 13, 14 years old on listening to shit on the radio.
it's like Britney Spears or whatever the fuck, right? Like
Yeah, like Britney Spears, like NSYNC, like that, like
JT
2000s
baby.
pop. And then like I kind of just like stopped paying attention when I figured out about all these other music genres like metal music and like rap music. I remember in 303 was brand new.
Right.
CD releases of those things.
Yeah, and
And those things turn out to be really iconic, and it's kind
right.
of really cool.
It's just kind of interesting how that all works, isn't it? That, like it's like you like there's so many generalizations too when it comes to music. I feel like that like people are like, oh, this is this and this is that, but like I feel like no generalization in music is really true, right? Because it's just like you could say like EDM even is like popish. Like I mean I like said it was like,
Yeah,
you know, more of like an investment at this point or whatever, like in the for the future, because I mean it really hasn't become like truly pop yet, but like I mean like you could say that a few songs here and there, like some Tiesto songs and stuff, are like quote unquote pop music for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's like definitely a lot of different like veins of pop now. Even like there's like the house music pop songs,
Yeah.
like Tiesto now. And then there's like the Millennium songs that are kind of like happy dubstep songs.
Yeah, or there was like Calvin Harris
Jazz
for a while
band.
too, like
Yeah, and then there's like all these people who play big festivals, and like I think those songs, like even like the song that's the anthem for League of Legends tournaments,
yeah, KDA or whatever.
those songs that just become iconic and like create this type of new genre that can be explored. Like I think Monster Cat's one of those labels that's kind of like they used to be just kind of like this
Gaming
video
label.
game chiptune label, and then then video games picked up on that and like sponsored them to kind of like match that vibe even more.
Yeah.
That's like high energy music, great for video games. But yeah, I think just finding your calling in music for what you want to write. that can be kind of difficult though, is finding labels and then trying to submit to them. But if you submit like 50 things, you're bound to get like top 5.
One good hit out of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, at least gonna get one song to pop off and like probably get a few more songs released. Because to be honest, these labels are trying to find new talent that sounds similar to old songs, so that they can like have these new artists carry like an old legacy, like kind of a cultural passing of the torch type of thing.
Yeah.
So it's like who the fuck, like, you might think everybody in your town knows who you are if you like meet everybody and like try and present yourself as like and make music with them. Maybe that clicks, maybe you get like 200 followers, 500. But getting past that 1,000 mark, you have to like reach out to labels and such.
Right, and I think that just in general like translates a lot with just like how the world is now. Like it's so much more like it used to be like a decent ideal, and I think sometimes it still is like a decent ideal to like like really take advantage of like where you live and like the people around you. But I feel like nowadays it's like even less. It's like there's so many opportunities outside of that it's just like not like it's just not that's just not as big of a deal as it like used to be. And there's like better ways to do business and just things in general than necessarily going out like my coworker today, kind of like I was saying, like, yeah, my girlfriend's really artsy craftsy, like, and I think she could have like a successful business, especially in a small town like the one we live in, because I feel like a lot of people support small businesses. And like the town I live in right now, honestly, like there's a lot of like successful businesses. Like small businesses tend to succeed more here than they do in general, right?
Yeah.
But like I do think that there is some truth in like that peer-to-peer like global market. Like it's just the way to be. Like, because I mean it's true. Like there's a lot more growth opportunity there, but like I think there is something to say still about like that local market to a certain extent. Like maybe if you don't have the funds,
you definitely have to start somewhere.
Because I mean it's gonna be expensive regardless.
It's just to walk out your front door, but other times it's like even getting that first step out the door is like difficulty. So trying to give people like every single option, like,
right.
See, stuff works and clicks for everybody in different levels, maybe even different times. Like maybe after people meet a bunch of people online, they can realize that everyone's kind of the same and like everyone's kind of going through similar experiences in different states, cities, parts of the world. It's all unique and kind of like culturally different. So
everyone, and cool. I think everybody kind of has like a different idea of what they want the world to look like too. Like there's no right answer necessarily, and I think like media and music sometimes make it feel like that's not the case, but I think it really is, and I think like people really do have a real choice when it comes to things like music.
Yeah.
Like it might not be like the pop music, but like you really do. I feel like have a ton of choice whether you like someone or not in music, or whether you support them or not.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could definitely make music in your state, in your favorite genre, and submit it to that label, even if it's like in a prestigious city or state, you know?
Right, and that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, it's really just important, I think, for people to really just get out there and like just put their shit out and just be okay with it. Because like at the end of the day, it's like everyone has their own fucking opinion and shit. Like, and I don't think there's like a really like necessarily like super like.
Yeah, because if like you do it well enough, then like it fits in with what you're trying to fit in with anyway. So might as well like try and aspire to where you want to grow to. Because I mean, if it works out for you, then you're probably gonna like eventually move to at least visit there, figure out if you want to even like live in that area.
Yeah, and it's also just like if you do something you want to do, it's just gonna be a better life. Or you live somewhere where you like to live, it's just gonna be a lot better for you in the long run. You know, like trying to fight. Than just trying to like fight like to stay relevant in something you really don't want to be relevant in, you know, shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of that too. Like it's like you feel like you're forced. But then I also feel like there's just also things like what we were talking about the other day. Like there's also things that just are more natural. Like there's just certain things that you're probably just gonna be better at like being marketed to than others. Like, and I think that's another thing a lot of people like misrecognize because I feel like when you're in music, like you're not like a fucking business savvy person or whatever, and you know you don't understand like all of like
Yeah,
the
and
intricacies
you're probably
involved.
not going to get into music thinking about how you're going to market, because people get into music just because they like to listen to music. They like want to learn how to play their favorite songs. Then it spirals into like them wanting to learn how to record themselves. Then it comes down to like how you're going to learn all of that savvy stuff.
Right.
And then none of those steps really think about how you're going to sell music for money, make a living in that, all those
Right.
details.
Like there's a lot of things that I think people like really miss on, and that's why these like music labels and stuff make so much money, right? Is because they just know that there's like that they can like offer them something that like only they can offer them because it's like they don't have like those skills like inherently built into themselves or
Right.
whatever you want to say.
I mean, and it's definitely it's one of those hard things that people have to learn and get screwed over by labels and actually lose money on to gain that exposure and experience. So it kind of does suck, but it's kind of one of those necessary evils with any industry.
Yeah, we're actually over an hour now, so
That's good.
do you have any like final thoughts that you want to like put on this? Because I mean, really, we just talked about music and kind of like just talk. I don't know, just like rambled on about music, and I mean that's cool. I think
I feel like everyone just chase their dreams.
yeah,
You know, like don't be afraid to ask questions. Like Google's your probably best option.
I also think if I could say one thing too, is just because it's your dream, um, don't backbone or other opportunities just because
Yeah.
that's what you really want to do. Like, there's opportunities lead to other opportunities, and you might find that that might not be what you really want to do too.
Yeah, there's so many different levels to the music industry as well. Like don't think that you have to be like the front man.
Yeah, you don't have to do it all.
Yeah.
You can totally be the bedroom DJ, and that's cool. You could totally be the bedroom producer
Be
and
the
never go outside.
guitarist, you could be the bassist, the drummer, be any kind of member of, and still contribute. Even like the people who set up the shows,
The
run
roadies.
run audio, those people are immensely useful people to know and like network with too. Because like who knows, that might be your calling as well, and you could like basically live vicariously through way bigger artists than you'd probably think you'd ever run sound for or meet.
Yeah, I will tell you one thing. It's interesting, you know, how many famous people we've actually talked to and met, and it's also interesting to see that I really don't think they're any different than anyone walking across the street. And I think as soon as like people try to raise them to that pedestal, like above an average human being, is like the minute they stop listening. So
Yeah, I mean they kind of lose that yeah, once they realize and put them on the pedestal, like they forget that they're just a regular person, and then they think they'll never aspire to be at that good, but really it's just the hard work that made them that.
so yeah, I think the real moral of the story is just put 100 into whatever you do, and
Yeah.
you will be on that next pedestal. And I don't know. I don't really want to drop names of all the people we know or we met, but I will say that there's some pretty high profile people, and it's like I said, as soon as you put them on that pedestal above yourself, you lose their attention. Like, and that wasn't us obviously because we're still friends with them, but a lot of people that like meet them will like say something. Hey, could I get a signature? I'm like, hey man, that's awesome that you're here. Like, and put them up on that next level is like the minute you lose their attention. So
Yeah.
they're just looking for life, just like you are. So even if they live it a little bit more fortunately than you. All right, well, that's a wrap for episode 2. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode, probably different topics. I'm sure Jack will probably be involved more tomorrow. Just kind of trying to get everyone involved and everyone's thoughts on something that they're, interested in or what they do. So, all right, cool. That's a wrap.
Cool.